This program is aimed at reading n students' marks along with their identification numbers, and it is supposed to print IDs of first class students as a bunch, followed by IDs of second class students, followed by IDs of third class students. As usual, greater than or equal to 60 means first class. In between 50 to 60 is second class. In between 35 to 50 is third class. Otherwise, failed. These conditions we are using from the beginning onwards. Thus, we don't want to talk more. As usual, stdio.h is included, main is defined. Arrays A and ID are declared along with integer variables I and n. The arrays are supposed to store the marks and identification numbers. The printf statement asks the user to enter a value for n. Whatever user enters, it will be read into the variable n. This for loop is used to read the student marks and identification numbers into two separate one-dimensional integer arrays. As we have n students, the for loop runs for n times, and each time it reads a student mark and identification number. You can see the following simulation of this for loop. This for loop takes student marks one after another and checks whether the student is first class or not by comparing with the 60. If he is first class, then his identification number will be printed on the screen. Once this for loop is over, we will be seeing only the identification numbers of the first class students. This for loop also takes student marks one after another, then checks whether the student mark is in between 50 to 60 or not. If it is so, then his identification number will be printed. Otherwise, ID will not be printed. Which means that once we complete this for loop, we will be seeing only the identification numbers of those students whose marks are in between 50 to 60. This for loop also runs for n times. Each time it takes a student marks and checks whether it is in between 35 to 50 or not. If it is so, his identification number will be printed. Thus, once this for loop is completed, we will be getting only the identification numbers of third class students. Let us try to simulate how the identification numbers of the first class students will be printed. The remaining loops will be working in the same fashion. I value is initialized to 0. The for condition is tested now. I, is it less than n? 0 less than 5? Yes. Thus the loop is going to get executed once. Currently I value is 0. A of I, that is 0th element of the array, that is 65. Is it greater than or equal to 60? Yes. Thus his identification number 1 will be printed on the screen. I value will be incremented by 1. Now for condition is tested. I, is it less than n? 1 less than 5? Yes. Thus the loop is going to get executed once more. A of I, currently I value is 1. A of 1, that is the second student marks, that is 55. Is it greater than or equal to 60? No. Thus his ID will not be printed. I value will be incremented by 1. The for condition is now again tested. I, is it less than n? 2, is it less than 5? Yes. Thus the loop is going to get executed once more. A of I, that is I value is 2. A of 2, that is the third student marks, that is 90. Is it greater than or equal to 60? Yes. Thus his identification number 31 will be printed. I value will be incremented by 1. Again for condition will be tested. I, is it less than n? That is 3. Is it less than 5? Yes. Thus the loop is going to get executed once more. A of I, currently I value is 3. A of I, that is 32. His marks, is it greater than or equal to 60? No. Thus his identification number will not be printed. I value will be incremented by 1. Again for condition will be tested. That is I, is it less than n? 4 less than 5? Yes. Thus the loop is going to get executed once more. Is A of I, that is I value is 4, so A of 4, 39. Is it greater than or equal to 60? No. Thus the student's ID also will not be printed. I value will be incremented by 1. Current value of I is 5. 5 less than 5? No. Thus we will come out from the for loop. By this time we have taken every student marks and compared against the 60, and those students whose marks are more than or equal to 60, their identification numbers only printed on the screen. Similarly, the following for loop will again take the student marks one after another, then checks whether their marks are in between 50 to 60 or not. If it is so, their identification numbers will be printed. The last for loop also works in the same fashion. That is, it will take a student mark and then compare, is it between 35 to 50 or not. If it is so, his identification number will be printed. This is repeated for each student. Thus, we will be seeing only the identification numbers of those students who are third class students. This program